Welcome back. At the last major meeting of China's leaders, the message seemed clear. This government is going to get tough on corruption. And now there's even news that a senior official in charge of handling petitions is being investigated by the Communist Party. The detention of Xu Ji, who is Deputy Chief of the State Bureau for Letters and Calls, is the latest corruption investigation announced since that meeting, and his bureau has been labelled one of the worst breeding grounds for graft. But are the recent cases a sign of a genuine crackdown? How determined is the government to go after corruption root and branch? Well, with us in the studio is Dr. Xu Jingnan of the Hong Kong University Department of Politics and Public Administration. So let me ask you that question. I mean, how determined do you really think the government is to tackle corruption?
Well, that's a very good question. I do think the government, the new administration is very tough. They want to show their toughness on corruption. And actually, based on the data we have seen, so far the government has arrested more senior officials than previous administrations. So at least they want the public to perceive that they are pretty determined on corruption, on anti-corruption.
Because, of course, as I'm sure you know, one of the interpretations that some analysts put on this is that the anti-corruption drive is also a drive by President Xi Jinping to centralize his power. And this happens to be a convenient way of doing that. Do you subscribe to that view?
Anti-corruption definitely is a good approach for Xi Jinping to consolidate his power. We can look at what officials have been investigated so far, and they have, I think this time the campaign has covered a wide range of government, different departments and localities. Some of the officials are like high-level state council ministers. Some are provincial officials. Some are SOE, CEOs.
This is state enterprises.
Yes, so yes, they make sure that they want to show to others that nobody will be exempted from the current anti-corruption movement.
And as you indicated earlier, this is hardly the first anti-corruption drive. I mean, how effective were the past ones?
I think the outcome is mixed. In the short run, those anti-corruption campaigns did help to control, to curtail the corruption to some degree. But later on, in the longer terms, we still see some intensification of corruption in China.
But it actually seems to have got worse and worse, does it not?
I think it's mainly the quality of corruption has changed, has become more complicated.
More money involved.
Absolutely, and more senior officials are involved, and cases are more, the formats of the corruption cases are more sophisticated, and usually takes longer time for the government to investigate, to uncover those cases. Actually, in the 1980s, usually it only took 2 years to uncover a case, but when it came to this century, it could take 8 to 10 years to uncover a corrupt official. So it becomes more difficult, actually, to investigate a case.
And I get the sense, I don't know whether you do, that these anti-corruption drives are actually very popular among people in China.
Absolutely. This is why some scholars like Professor Andrew Whitman in the United States, he commented recently that this anti-corruption campaign is mainly the PR, the public relation campaign for the CCP. So to some degree, this is also some kind of safe project for a new administration to carry out. So I think people all observe this. Whenever there's a new administration come into power, they tend to launch some anti-corruption campaigns. The difference is just a degree. Some administrations probably will launch a larger scale, just like the recent one. But people all know, because corruption is very serious in China, or it's even getting more serious in China in the recent years. So definitely fighting corruption will win the public support.
Well, Dr. Xu, thank you very much. Let's see how all that works out. Pedestrians don't get much space in Hong Kong as a rule, but one place that they could walk unhindered by the internal combustion engine has been the pedestrian precinct in Mong Kok. It has also become a home to entertainers and activists, but it's now looking like Hong Kong's street culture is facing a setback.
拋碟嗰個咧就4.3個字開始㗎啦，就整個音響咧唱嗰啲歌，嘈到你好煩啦。總言之，我啊希望佢最好1至7都唔好開放。
The Mong Kok pedestrian precinct was initiated in the year 2000. It has since become popular with street performers, tourists, social activists and even telecommunication services providers. But local residents and businessmen have been complaining that all these pedestrian uses are making the street too noisy. Last Thursday, 24 Yau Chin Mong district councillors unanimously voted to reduce the opening days of the precinct to Saturdays, Sundays and public holidays only. The rest of the time, they want it open to vehicles.
雖然未到咧係覺得其所啦，咁但係喺目前嚟講咧，越嚟越即係如果唔縮減嗰個日子咧，兩邊居民咧佢哋所受嘅苦，佢哋嗰種嘅表達咧係越嚟咧係越犀利嘅。咁所以有呢個方案咧，我覺得暫時咧係咪可以平衡一下咧？
The Yau Chin Mong district office sent out 745 consultation documents to residents, shop tenants, owners' corporations and committees, and received 120 replies. Around 78% of the replies supported the reduction in operating times for the pedestrian precinct. The street performers, though, are far from happy.
其實成個旺角都嘈啦，如果唔嘈又唔叫旺角啦。What we want to do is put our hip hop dance on street out there just for people to watch and enjoy. 咁應該日日都俾佢哋咁樣，係咯，每晚都係咁樣，咁咪多啲人嚟，咁咪可以睇到多啲表演咯。
佢就係星期6日先可以俾開檔，即係俾我哋表演咧，開放呢條街咧。其實我覺得呢個係唔係咁好一個決定嚟嘅，因為你見到而家一個禮拜7日都有咁多表演，咁如果你縮短晒，得翻呢2日，咁我哋更加會逼多啲人集中咗喺呢2日表演咧，就會更加嘈同埋更加擠迫啊！
平日咧喺呢條街裏邊咧，作為演唱者嘅咧，就數過咧係有七家嘅。 咁你個街咧依然係咁長嘛，冇 cut 到啊嘛。咁如果依然咧，即係話禮拜1、禮拜5咧，佢哋都依然喺度咧去表演嘅話，係唔會集中埋一齊啦。
咁我哋知道有居民投訴噪音，咁我哋咧就已經係我哋有4隊人就會買咗呢個分貝機嚟度個噪音。如果譬如呢個環境，我哋唔會超過10咯，同個環境嘅分貝。
咁我哋係社會主義行動啦，咁我哋過去3年以嚟咧，都一直用呢條街咧係進行我哋發聲嘅工具啦，同埋係反對梁振英政府啊不民主嘅制度嘅。咁所以今次見到係即係政府係封咗呢條街，得翻6日咧去開放，其實係好唔民主嘅決定。
The Food and Environmental Hygiene Department says that so far this year it has prosecuted 31 illegal hawkers, 37 itinerant licensed hawkers, and 418 who have obstructed the road for commercial activities. It also says it has seized 2,800 easy mount frames like these, used for commercial promotions. Some say, though, the commercial enterprises still dominate the street.
I cannot understand why the government, with all the departments and resources and manpower it's got, has failed to handle the situation and allow the situation to go from bad to worse. There are regulations that will regulate the noise level, but the government has not been able to show any commitment to help regulate the situation. And at the same time, the government basically allows the commercial and promotional activities to further occupy much of the pedestrian district.
According to the Transport Department, there are around 13,500 pedestrians at peak hour, 7 to 8 p.m. on weekdays, and 19,500 pedestrians in the weekend at Sai Yung Choi Street South. Legislator Kenneth Chan has been talking to the Yau Chim Mong district councillors and the district office to see if there are better ways to solve the problems than closing down the area during the week.
We have come up with a number of very interesting ideas. First of all, a code of practice for all street performers regarding how to use their equipment. And number two, we have come up with the idea of different zoning along the street. If the government could help by regulating or reducing such commercial promotion activities, then there would be room for more street performers or for the existing street performers to zone themselves into different areas and maybe to avoid performing right under the residents' blocks.
Well, I'm afraid that's all we have time for today. We're off for a stroll in Mongkok. We'll see you at the same time next week. Until then, goodbye.